This foundational module introduces you to the conceptual frameworks, historical evolution, and critical importance of gender and youth inclusion in agriculture. It serves as the intellectual springboard for the rest of the course by unpacking the socio-economic, political, and cultural factors that shape participation, access, and visibility of women and young people in agricultural systems globally and in local contexts. Module objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to define key terminologies such as gender, youth, gender roles, gender norms, and intersectionality within the agricultural context. Understand the historical and structural exclusion of women and youth in agriculture. Examine the link between agriculture, food security, rural livelihoods, and inclusive development. Assess the importance of gender and youth-sensitive approaches in rural transformation agendas. Identify the global frameworks, conventions, and development goals that support inclusivity in agriculture, e.g., SDGs, AU Agenda 2063, CEDAW. Defining core concepts. Gender is not synonymous with women. It refers to socially constructed roles, responsibilities, and expectations assigned to individuals based on their perceived sex. In agriculture, this means different expectations for men and women in labor, decision-making, access to land, and finance. Youth is contextually defined. The African Union defines youth as persons between the ages of 15 and 35. They represent the largest demographic group in many developing nations, yet remain underrepresented in productive agricultural systems. Gender roles dictate who does what in the household, farm, market, and community. These roles are not static and vary across cultures and time. Historical context of gender and youth in agriculture. Traditionally, agriculture has been portrayed as a male-dominated field, especially in formal discourse and investment. However, women have always played central roles, often unpaid or unacknowledged in food production, post-harvest handling, and local markets. Youth, meanwhile, have increasingly been pushed away from agriculture due to rural-urban migration, lack of innovation, limited access to land, and poor institutional support. This has resulted in an aging farming population and declining productivity. The exclusion matrix. Women face structural inequalities such as lack of land ownership due to patriarchal inheritance laws, limited access to credit because of absence of collateral, exclusion from decision-making in cooperatives and community land boards, gender-blind agricultural extension services. Youth face stereotyping as uninterested or inexperienced, barriers to agripreneurship, especially financing, lack of representation in agricultural policy dialogues, low exposure to mentorship, innovation, and market access. Women face structural inequalities such as lack of land ownership due to patriarchal inheritance laws, limited access to credit because of absence of collateral, exclusion from decision-making in cooperatives and community land boards, global and regional commitments, Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, Goal 2, Zero Hunger, Goal 5, Gender Equality, Goal 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth, Goal 10, Reduced Inequalities Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, Malabo. Declaration on Accelerated Agricultural Growth and Transformation for Shared Prosperity and Improved Livelihoods, AU Agenda 2063. A framework that highlights youth and women as key actors in Africa's transformation. Changing narratives, shifting from women and youth as vulnerable populations to women and youth as agricultural leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. The role of storytelling, media, and education in transforming how gender and youth roles are perceived. Importance of this module. This module lays the groundwork for deeper exploration in subsequent modules. Without understanding the historical exclusions and systemic inequalities that exist, we cannot adequately address them in practice. This module urges you to begin with a critical lens and challenge their own assumptions.